Hey guys, we ranked teams, we ranked characters, but still there is so much stuff going on in version 3.4 and beyond that it is very easy to get overwhelmed and get kinda lost when it comes to setting the pull priorities straight based on what state your account is currently in. In this video we're gonna answer all questions. I will try my best at least. And we're gonna establish a pull plan and go over everything. Okay, first let's check out the banners that we get in version 3.4. We have Paper Heron, Chen Higuang, we have a rerun here for Liang Yue, and more on that in just a second. We have free 100 summons, but only for a specific selection of characters. We will go over everything, right? Don't worry. We have this banner right here, which lets you choose a limited character from the past, such as Jiu, Lucy, or Anyanala. We have a revelation of water banner, aka they don't present us this time with a scam by default. No, we can now choose how we want to get scammed by ourselves. Hey, how nice of them. And we of course have this very stacked Euphoria banner, including Ananli, Regulus 6, 2 Fairy Willow Voyager, and A Knight. Additionally, we will have 3 more reruns throughout only this version 3.4. On April 21st we get a Robushka rerun banner. On May the 5th we get Noir. Should have made it May the 4th, right? May the 4th be with you, blah blah blah, you get a point. May 19th though is a Kakania rerun banner. Alright, so you can see that there is a very overwhelming amount of characters and possibilities. What would you choose on this scam banner? Spoiler alert, nothing. But what if, right? Here, you can choose your 100 pulls and direct them towards Anali, Voyager, Regulus, 2 Fairy, Barcelona, Isolde, Eternity, Semmelweis, Medicine Pocket, Marcus, Gatian, Via, Sotheby, Argus, Jessica, Willow, A Knight, and Chorus. Who do you choose? Why do you choose? Like why, how, when, what is going on here, right? Additionally, I have to mention that we get a free portrait here in this version as well, which influences the pick that you do on the 100 free pulls tremendously, of course. So yeah, I can't here it is. This is just gonna be a free portrait for a character of your choice. So there is a selection, of course. Here selectable characters are 6 2 Fairy Willow, Druvis, Lilia, Sotheby, Eternity, Mrs. Bubble, Jessica, Shamana, Voyager. And yeah, which portrait do you pick? And how does this influence the 100 free pulls that you get? Let's start from the very beginning in version 3.4 and start figuring things out from there. Okili dokili. So starting off with Paper Heron, Liang Yue, and Chen Higuang. Paper Heron will join the fray first. Then we get Chen Higuang and Liang Yue respectively. They both come together when Cheng releases. And this is already very complicated and very difficult to tell here. Hear me out though, this is very important information. You don't want to miss that. First of all, Paper Heron is going to be a must pull for everyone and their mom, no matter what. You can get your hands onto like the second best or third best team in the entire game here. Not only is Paper Heron also in the top 5, but Chen Higuang and Liang Yue, they can build like the second or even third best team in the entire game, and you don't want to miss out on that. That is only true though if you get both of them at P2. They are both on separate banners as well. So this is going to be very expensive and a tremendous investment when it comes to your Unilocks. Now, again, if you watch my channel for at least 2 months, you will be ready for this, and it will be no issue for you to establish this team, no problem whatsoever. And then, of course, if you listen to me, both of these characters are absolute must pulls. You cannot miss out on such a high rank team in the metagame. It's impossible. You know what I mean? Okay. Now, generally speaking though, you have to pull no matter what for Liang Yue. Even if you get her at P2, you have to wing it, and you play her together with Flutterpage and Fatutu, and you wing the 4th slot with like 37 or any follow-up attack character for that matter, just so you can play Liang Yue. This is going to be the second best main DPS character in the entire game, and therefore this is like an easy no-brain must pull character no matter what, even at P0, no question. If you are in a scenario where you play a different follow-up attack team with, for example, let's say Kalabauna and Anionala, so you would have no use in a follow-up attack setup with Liang Yue, you gotta make her work. Otherwise, in, for example, a rank up team where you then replace Marcus there, the point is you gotta pull for Liang Yue and you make her work no matter how. You have to find a way, right? So usually now Chen Higuang would also be a must pull, and you play him together with Liang Yue. Boom. But this is a very, very huge investment here, getting both of these characters together, right? After you pulled for Paper Heron, probably after you pulled for Marsha, right? Not everyone is going to be able to get these two characters by default, and especially not at P2. So that's why, since you can play Liang Yue without Chen Higuang, but you can't play Chen Higuang without Liang Yue, that turns Chen Higuang into a maybe, depending on the situation that your account is in and depending on how many Unilogs do you actually have available for yourself. This is of course a character that, in my book, for people that listen to me, is a must pull. There's no question about it. But overall speaking, since this is like a public video right here, you get the point. I will have to put him into the maybe category, pointing towards must pull because of the P2 scenarios, because of Paper Heron and the whole situation with Marsha, the Afterglow and Brumie and everything like that, you know? You get the point. That's why Chen Higuang is in maybe and not a must pull. Let's get one situation here out of the way right now. Let's say, hey, I'm moving into version 3.4 completely broke, bro. There are 2 billion possible characters I could pull here for, and I have like 50 Unilogs. If I'm getting lucky enough to win like a 50-50, I get one character, bro. Who all of those characters should I actually get? Should it be Paper Heron? Should it be Tooth Fairy maybe? Should it be Chen Higuang, Liang, Lucy? Who should I get, bro? If I can only choose one character and wing it a little bit because I'm broke, help me out here. The answer to that question is Liang Yue. If you can only pull for one character, it is Liang Yue. That is the most important character in version 3.4, and even moving forward. You gotta get Liang here. If you move out of version 3.4 and you don't have Liang with her Euphoria update established, you did a mistake, right? That's as easy as that. This is the second best main DPS character in the game. No way you're gonna miss that. No way. Okay, now here is a little bit of a kicker, because you can push your luck. You can maximize your luck output. Let me say it like that. Because check this out. Paper Heron joins on April 16, right from the point where this version begins. And she stays here all the way until the version ends. She does not go away. the moment that Chen Higuang releases. Normally we have the first character leave when the second character in a version joins. In this one here, that is not the case. Paper Heron stays until the very end of the version. That is what allows you to, when Paper Heron joins the fray, do not immediately pull for her, right? If your Unilocks wouldn't allow that. Wait it out. Wait until May 1st. Until the Young US banner comes. And then you're gonna pull here on this banner first until you obtained the Young UR. Depending on when this is, how your Unilocks look after that, right? How lucky, how unlucky you get. After you have obtained yourself the Young UR, this is when you can do or should do your other pulls. After the Young UR, after you have obtained her, then you can move into the Paper Heron banner. Then you can wait for Chen Higuang, who by the way joins on May 7th, right? It is Paper Heron first, then Li Yang Yue on May 1st, and then Chen Higuang on May 7th. So the point is, if your Unilocks are scarce and you are broke or kinda broke, wait for the Li Yang banner first and pull here, and then you go from there depending on the results. Okay, let's go and talk about the Euphoria banner now. Now we have 6 different characters in there. Let's sort this out really quickly. You would never pull for Voyager on a banner that also includes Regulus. That doesn't make any sense. Regulus is a slightly better version of what Voyager is. So I mean, that's, I don't know. Let's move on. A-Knight is a super bad, unviable character aside from a very tiny bad niche. Skip, no-brainer. 6 is only viable for this one version and the one version only. For version 3.4, you could, for example, free up Flutterpage from the Afterglow lineup. That would be his best use, and you don't want to do that. Don't pull for 6 in version 3.4 and then replace him in version 3.5 by pulling for Lawrence. That would be not a good decision, to say the least. Then we have Willow. Now Willow is very interesting because not only is her Euphoria very strong, it triples her damage output. Next version we gain access to a new poison character with Ramona. Next, and then we get access to a new Euphoria update for Tuesday, the Poison Queen. So this team sees a gigantic glow up, but it misses the sustain. This team does not have a viable sustain. If you watch my previous videos for that matter, you will know already why this is such a big deal. There is no viable sustain available for us to wing it with this team. Sotheby needs a Euphoria update, we need a new poison sustain character. Something has to happen. This team is incomplete, and that makes it not crush it too hard. It is though very respectable, extremely good, and once they get their sustain, I mean, this is a force to be reckoned with, and that's why I would say pulling for Willow on this Euphoria banner wouldn't be ridiculous, but I cannot recommend it either for the reasons that I just mentioned. So you could pull for Willow and look at her as a future investment. Keep in mind though, if you do that, you commit to the poison lineup. If you pull for Willow, that means you gonna get Tuesday with her Euphoria and you gonna pull for Ramona. Otherwise, this is not gonna be worth your investment. Please remember that. So Willow is not a must pull. You can pull for her, you don't have to. The true recommended thing would be skip poison, and therefore Willow goes into the maybe category, pointing towards skip. Then we have Regulus. Regulus is also a maybe. It depends on the situation of your account. do you have the means to play double impromptu, right? Do you have Barcelona, Skipperina, Mercuria, Two Fairy, you know, all the characters that you need for double impromptu? Do you have all of those? Like, for example, if you already have Voyager at your disposal, you don't need Regulus. The improvement here is so tiny, it wouldn't be worth the investment. But let's say, right, this very super niche scenario here of you having everything you need for double impromptu. Let me count all of these characters out. You need Paper Heron, Anan Lee, Two Fairy, and Mercuria. You also need Barcelona, Aleph, and Skipperina. If you have all of those characters, but you don't have Voyager, then and only then would you pull for Regulus, right? And again, this is a scenario where when I say this out loud, it's ridiculous. Regulus is a must-skip character. Let's be real here. Then we have Anan Lee. You should already have pulled for Anan Lee in the prior version, in version 3.3, in the version that we are in right now. This is where Anan Lee received the Euphoria update, and you should have grabbed her from that Euphoria banner in this very version. So in case you didn't do that though, that's a must pull for you. Absolutely. I will put her into the middle of maybe, because you will have Anan Lee, right? And yeah, if you don't, then pull for her, right? It's a no-brainer, really. You need her to be played together with Paper Heron, and you want double impromptu, so you need Anan Lee, right? It's really that simple. It may be though, because I would go by the logic of everyone has her. Let's just keep it at that and move on. On to the limited character rerun banner, let me call it like that. We have Jiu Nyingzhi. I love pronouncing her name like that, I'm so sorry. We then have Lucy Busi and Anyonala. There are two absolute no-brainers here. Anyonala, you don't pull for her even if you don't have her. If you would have really wanted her, you should have pulled for her already. And if you didn't, like, don't do it now. She is pretty irrelevant in the metagame, so no-brainer, right? Jiu is unfortunately replaced by Kalabauna. Kalabauna is just a slightly better version of Jiu, so we would have to pray for a Jiu Euphoria number 2. We don't pray here. We base everything that we say and do on facts and knowledge that we have already attained. We don't gamble here. Okay, then Lucy. Now that is a little bit interesting. Probably, like, honestly, if I'm 100% being honest with you, I would skip that Lucy. Now there is a caveat to this, because if you want to play impromptu and you don't have Lucy yet, you don't have Bromé, you don't have Corvus, if you have any available Dynamo character that you could use as the main DPS for a Dynamo, you don't have Lucy, you don't have Corvus, and if you also wouldn't have Bromé, that's a must pull. That's an absolute must pull. You need a main DPS character for Dynamo. I think that is pretty obvious at this point. But again, such as it is with Anan Lee, right? It's the exact same situation. I would go by the logic that you have one of those characters that I just counted out. You will have either Lucy, you will have Bromé or Corvus, right? I mean, it would be ridiculous to assume you wouldn't have one of those characters. And therefore, I would recommend, honestly, to you to skip Lucy at this point. Otherwise, like, you bench a character that you've already invested in. Not a good decision for your account. She would give your account value. Yeah, that's the best main DPS for Dynamo, but still, nah, don't do it. Now, let's go and talk about the 100 free summons and go over the scenarios here. So, you could, in theory, right, establish yourself the double impromptu meta here. You could pull for a missing piece, be it Barcelona, or you can grab Regulus from here, you can pick Voyager from here, or from both of those from the Euphoria banner. But the problem is, you would only do that, right, if you have Aleph and Skip Arena. If you have Aleph and Skip Arena, you will also have Barcelona already, and you will also have Voyager and or Regulus. No question about it. So let's say you don't have Aleph and or Skip Arena, but you want double impromptu and you want to get Barcelona from the 100 free summons, and you will grab then Regulus from the Euphoria banner. That's your plan. But you don't have Skip Arena and you don't have Aleph, or maybe you miss one of those, right? That is still not a good decision to try and do that, because it will lead you straight into the scam banner, and that is something that you want to avoid at all cost, no matter what, or every time. You know what I mean? So that one is out of the picture. The biggest thing here is you either grab Anali if you don't have her, or the most common thing will be to grab a portrait for 2 fairy. 2 fairy wants portrait number 1, but she would also profit quite well from having portrait number 2 at her disposal as well. And you can do that. You can pull for 2 fairy on the Euphoria banner. Wait a minute, I just forgot to put her into the previous screen. Doesn't matter, right? So you could pull for 2 fairy on the Euphoria banner. Then you could grab portrait number 1 from the 100 free summons, and then go for P2 2 fairy with the free portrait that we're gonna get, because she is also here in this very selection. That is definitely a route you could go. Now, that is the most recommended way, you know, to spend your 100 free summons onto the 2 fairy. If you wouldn't spend this onto 2 fairy, you would grab a piece for something else. If you miss Barcelona for some reason I cannot explain, for the second impromptu team, go ahead. If you miss Via for the rank up team, right? Let's say you play Anionala and Calabauna with Flutterpage and Fatutu. So you don't have space, or you don't have the opportunity, you don't want to play Flutterpage and Fatutu with the must pull Yang. You have to go for the rank up team here. And in case you would miss Via, right? I don't think you would miss Via if you have Marcus. But in case that's the case, grab Via. If you miss Marcus for that team and you play his Sabef as their main DPS, for example, grab Marcus. Now, 2 fairy is, as I said, the best choice, and this is what most people will and should go for here. A second one is that I just told you about, that Poison will see a huge glow up. Willow Euphoria is happening, Tuesday Euphoria is happening, Ramona is happening, right? If you don't have Willow, why not go for Willow here on this banner for the 100 free summons? Get 2 fairy from the Euphoria banner and get a free portrait for 2 fairy from this item here, or this shop, or whatever it might be, right? That way you would have both a piece for Poison, and you would have 2 fairy with the recommended amount of portraits, right? Now let's go and talk a little bit more about this. What if you have 2 fairy at P1 already? Why not? You know what I mean? You plan to play Poison moving forward, then grabbing a portrait for Willow is also very, very good. We all know Willow and Tuesday, they have a power spike that unlocks for them at P3. So why not go ahead and do that? I can give you more information here. I'm telling you, Kakania and Noir Euphorias are on the horizon. They are in the near future. Source, trust me, bro. I'm not kidding you, right? Noir gets a free garment, she gets a rerun and all of that for a reason. She will get a Euphoria update soon. You can grab her for a little bit of a future investment in case you already have Tooth Fairy and you already have Willow. You have to follow up the rank up team, excuse me. Noir is not something you should sleep on and ignore completely. You know what I mean? Here, picks like whatever piece you miss for like poison or rank up, you can definitely go for it. Characters that you do not pick up under any circumstances are Eternity, Semmelweis, Medicine Pocket. If you play Blood Tide is already complete. No way you miss a piece there. It's impossible. So yeah, don't grab these characters. Their portraits are completely useless, right? You would probably never grab Gatian, although it is also a possibility because Recoleta gets a Euphoria update in version 3.6, so Gatian has some viability, right? But yeah, don't grab Voyager. If you would grab that, then you go for Regulus instead. Don't grab Eternity or Semmelweis or Medicine Pocket. If you play Blood Tide, that team is already established. If you have Beryl, you don't go for Isolde either. Marcus could be a viable piece. Gatian could be a viable piece. Via, Sotheby, Argus could be viable pieces. Don't go for Jessica. If you want a Jessica, then get Ramona in the very next version. Willow and Noir, viable pieces. A-Knight, no, not a good character. His portraits saw a rework, so his portraits are valuable, but don't play A-Knight and therefore don't pick him up here. Don't pick up Corvus. If you want a main DPS 40 Dynamo archetype, you go for Lucy on this banner right here. And that's gonna be about it for the 100 free summons and the portrait selector. Let's go to the portrait selector one more time and see if there's any information that I could talk about here. Again, like Willow is a very, very good pick. Tooth Fairy is the #1 best option here. It's a no-brainer. Don't get Six, don't get Druvis, no Lilia, no Sotheby, Eternity, Mrs. Bubble. All of these characters here are out of question. The only viable portraits here are for Tooth Fairy and Willow. Grab one of those. Okay, back to this screen right here. I forgot about Tooth Fairy for some reason, excuse me. That's like the most important part of the entire Euphoria, but I just forgot about her, man. Tooth Fairy, I'm so sorry, man. I have a tendency to forget about her for some reason. I love Tooth Fairy. It's like an OG. We go way back, you know what I mean? God, I'm sorry. Anyways, that's obviously a no-brainer. It's gonna be a must pull. And it is not too unlikely to assume that you don't have Tooth Fairy, because Tooth Fairy is a very, very old character. She received reruns, but you should have skipped the reruns and waited for this Euphoria banner. That's probably what you did, in case you don't have her already. So there you go. If you don't have Tooth Fairy, it's an absolute must pull. Needless to explain at this point. You need her for Paper Heron, and that's a must pull as well. So there we go. These two go hand in hand, and you should allow them to do that. Then we get 3 separate rerun banners for Robushka, Carcania, and Noir. There are 2 characters here with Carcania and Noir that you should never pick up from a rerun banner. If you want Noir, you pick her up from the 103 pulls. That's the only way you could possibly go with Noir. Otherwise, you wait until Noir receives a Euphoria update, and then she will be on the Euphoria banner in that version. And that's when you would pick her up if her Euphoria is any good. So Noir is unfortunately out of the picture for this very version right here. And the same scenario, or even worse, occurs for Carcania. The only way you would ever pick up Carcania is when she actually receives her Euphoria update, and then she will be on the Euphoria banner and you will get her cheaper than you would get her from a rerun. So forget about Carcania as well. Robushka is a little bit of a more interesting topic, because you know Recoleta receives her Euphoria update, you know the whole ultimate archetype team deal with Robushka. I explained that in my 2 previous videos in deep detail. So That's the deal with Robushka. They put her here as a rerun, they give her a garment because they want us to pair her, which is the most logical way, by the way. They want us to pair her with Recoleta. That's why Robushka is present here in this version. But honestly speaking, Recoleta is, first of all, it's unclear how good Recoleta's Euphoria update will actually be. It has to be quite big concerning like the teams that we are dealing with here, that, you know, like Recoleta has very, very huge competition at this point. So it is unlikely to assume that her Euphoria update will be that massive. You know what I mean? Especially after we just received Igor. I don't have high hopes for this Recoleta Euphoria update. To be honest, I don't think it will make top 5, but that's speculation. You know what I mean? Still, getting Robushka for that reason, and Recoleta is still also paired with Melania and Getian. It's all like all signs pointing towards mediocreness. And looking at this version with Paper Heron, Liang, Tooth Fairy, with Shang, with Anan Lee, and like all the things that are here, I cannot recommend you to go for Robushka. I mean, honestly speaking, maybe you need another sustained character on your account other than Tooth Fairy. Then Robushka is one of the best healers in the game. I mean, sure, you know, but nah, I cannot. I just cannot. I have to put her into skip. I think it would still be better to go for Willow if you want to go for like a future investment here. Don't pick up Robushka in this version. Okay, wow, and that was just version 3.4. I mean, look at the amount of characters available here, and those are not even all the characters. You can choose from way more characters on the scam banner or from the 100 free polls, right? This is an insane version, like crazy. Obviously, people are gonna get lost here, but I mean, yeah, I hope that helps. You could put Robushka here in the maybe category, right? If you pull for anything in the skip category, it's gotta be Robushka, honestly, or maybe Lucy, under very, very specific circumstances. But yeah, the others, forget about them completely. Here, future investment is Willow, right? Must pulls, they explain themselves. Chen Higuang, you could also put him here to pair him with Liang, you know what I mean? But the P2 scenario, very, very expensive. You already have to pull for Paper Heron and her crew. You know, you get the point. Okay, that was version 3.4. Now let's move on and take a look into version 3.5 and the characters we can obtain there. Let's take a look at the banners for version 3.5. First, we have Lorenz Butterfly, we have Ramona, and we have the Euphoria banner here, including Sotheby, Isolde, Spathodea, Tuesday, Tooth Fairy, and Willow again. The Euphoria updates in this version go to Spathodea and Tuesday, and those are going to be the banners for this version, except if they hit us with surprise reruns. We don't know anything about that yet. I thought it's gonna be Beth, but that is gonna be happening in version 3.3. In version 3.3 actually. Wow. Okay. Anyways, let's talk about all of these characters here and see if you should pull them or not, and why or when. Let's talk about Lorenz Butterfly first, because she is the first character to drop. That is very, very easy and simple and straightforward. You play Afterglow, Lorenz Butterfly is an absolute must pull powerhouse, no question about it. You play Afterglow, you pull for Lorenz. That's it, right? If you don't play Afterglow, yeah, then guess what? Lorenz is a skip, you know what I mean? Most people play Afterglow, I know that for a fact, so I will put her into the must pull category, because that would apply to most players. That's why I will not put her into the skip category. I skip Afterglow, everyone who listens to me skipped Afterglow, so she would then be a skip. but most people play Afterglow. That's why I put her into my must pull, because for that team, Lawrence is a must pull. You cannot have Beryl and Marsha and then not pull for Lawrence. You are out of your mind if you do that. So forget about that. Okay, pull for Lawrence if you play Afterglow. Very, very important. Don't stay with 6 or anything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, then we have Ramona. Ramona is a little bit worse than Lawrence, because for the fact that Ramona has a better replacement. You could also replace her with 6, right? That is a possibility. But you can also use Jessica, for example. Jessica is also easily obtainable in version 3.4 from this 103 pulls, I think it was, or something like that. You are very, very likely to already have Jessica, because she's a very old character, you know? Things like that make Ramona a little bit less viable for poison than a character like Lawrence would be for Afterglow. But again, don't get me wrong, Ramona is very, very strong, and if you play poison, if you plan on playing this lineup with Willow Tuesday, if you are fine with Sotheby as your sustain, or maybe you don't play a team that has a viable sustain character in it, and you can then use that sustain and wing it into the poison team for the time being, right? All scenarios. So yeah, it's quite important. She's even more important than a Willow would be, because you could use Ramona as the main DPS. I wouldn't recommend you do that, but it is certainly a possibility. You play Ramona Tuesday with 6 or with Jessica. That you can do that, right? It wouldn't be like ridiculously. I wouldn't recommend that. I personally would find it ridiculous, but it is something that you can do. It is not as outrageous as I would say it actually is. You know, you gotta make that decision for yourself. So Ramona is not a must pull even if you play poison, but Lawrence is a must pull if you play Afterglow. So that's why I put Ramona into the maybe category, pointing towards pull her if you play poison. Okay, yeah, Tuesday is, of course, if you play poison, you have to pull, right? If you plan to play poison, you have to get Tuesday. There's no way around that. There's a way around Willow, there's a way around Ramona, there's a way around 6. Tuesday, there is no way around Tuesday. You have to have Tuesday or you cannot play poison. That's why I will put her into the must pull category. You will probably already have her. If you don't, you will probably skip poison in its entirety. But if you play poison, you need Tuesday. That's a must pull, 100%, no way around it. Okay, then the other Euphoria update we get in version 3.5 is Spatodea. Now, what's the deal with her? Why is she even here? You know, that's really the question you should ask yourself, and I can give you the answer. She's here because in the very version that Lawrence Butterfly drops, you wouldn't be able to play Lawrence Butterfly if you wouldn't have access to Beryl, and that's where Spatodea comes in. If you want to play Lawrence Butterfly but you don't have Beryl, this is where you could use Spatodea in replacement, quote unquote. It is not a replacement, it is you wing it budget kind of situation. You know what I mean? Don't look at Spatodea as a replacement or as something that you could use instead of Beryl. No, it's a budget version that is only here that for people that want to play Lawrence but don't have Beryl. So it's a must skip, because I would... Wait a minute, how do I phrase this? I will go by the logic of, if you don't have Beryl, you skip Afterglow. You made the conscious decision to skip Afterglow. And that means you skip Lawrence Butterfly. And that means you have no usage for Spatodea. That's why Spatodea is an absolute must skip character. There we go. Moving into version 3.6, let's take a look at the banners first. This version is gonna be 21 days long, so it is cut in half. That's why we quote-unquote, only get one character and only one Euphoria update. The new character is going to be the sustain for the Dynamo archetype called Enigma. The Euphoria update in this version goes to Recoleta. That's why she will be on the Euphoria banner. Since she is not a limited character, she will not have a rerun or anything, but she will be on the Euphoria banner. This Euphoria banner will contain Tuesday, Melania, 2 Fairy, Recoleta, Isolde, and Willow. Okay, let's go and talk about that. Talking about the character Enigma first, because we know everything about him, right? He is gonna be the final piece for the metagame, really. He is the sustain. He's the only character that we need at this point, and this is a viable sustain character for the Dynamo archetype, and that is Enigma. Dynamo is one of the best teams in the game. He makes that team way better. I mean, what else is there to say about him, right? This is a must-pull character, no way around it, for everyone. Everyone plays Dynamo. Everyone needs to sustain for Dynamo. We wing it. I use Robushka. People use Kiparina. People use Marsha and everything. Like, no. We want our viable sustains for their respective teams. Otherwise, we wouldn't pull for these sustain characters if we don't play their team. You know what I mean? And it's very, very important to always have the best possible sustain in the game for the team that you play, especially if a team ranks very, very high in the metagame, because that makes the characters worth the bunny investment. And Enigma is an absolute must pull. There's no way around that guy. Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit more about this topic at the end of this video, so in just a second. Here, let's first talk about Recoleta. That is pretty impossible to judge, but not completely. You know, I already touched upon this theme earlier on, that this update, this Euphoria update for Recoleta, we don't know how good it will be. It will have to be insane though, because the competition that Recoleta, or the Ultimate Archetype team has, is insane. It competes with Blood Tide, with Double Impromptu, with a crazy cranked follow-up attack team, with an Afterglow team that is full, with a Dynamo archetype that just received their sustain and is now full, with a very, very strong team that is Poison, or the Igor team, right? I mean, the competition is insane for Recoleta. So it would need to be a very huge update. Not because necessarily Recoleta is too bad and needs it individually, but the Ultimate Archetype team as a whole, with like Melania, doesn't deal enough damage anymore. Getian, kind of the same scenario, is overall a little bit too lackluster as well. Like, these characters, they don't hold up anymore. If you compare these two, especially Getian, with other characters in his role from other teams, like we are talking about a Flutterpage here, we are talking about Lawrence Butterfly, we are talking about Ramona and stuff. Like, Getian is just not there anymore, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, this Euphoria update for Recoleta would need to be really, really insane to like justify the investment. For me personally, and I know, or I would guess, I would hope for most people that it doesn't matter, because we already have Recoleta. She was the best main DPS for the Ultimate Archetype team, and the Ultimate Archetype was very, very strong for so long. I cannot imagine a world or someone who would not have Recoleta unless he like joined the game after Recoleta it was released, obviously, right? But other than that, I think everyone and their mom pulled for Recoleta back in the day. So I guess it doesn't matter. We will play Recoleta in the Ultimate Archetype team anyways. We don't have to pull for her, right? But if you don't have Recoleta, or you try to scramble together the pieces with Getian and Melania to then play Recoleta, It's a little bit of a prediction, I'm very aware of that, but I wouldn't recommend you do that, honestly, at all. It is also in a version where you would have already, you are completely broke after 3.4. You will most likely have very huge investments here, right? Looking at you, Lawrence, maybe Ramona in version 3.5, and you have to pull for Enigma in version 3.5. Where are you gonna take the Unilogs from for Recoleta then, right? In case you wouldn't have her. If you already have her, it doesn't matter, right? But yeah, you get the point. I wouldn't recommend, at least for now, to pull for Recoleta in version 3.6. So now let me touch up upon something very, very, very important, and something that you should keep in mind moving forward into the consecutive versions, no matter what is going to be released there. Let me talk about that a little bit. Here is what I want to talk with you guys about. If you look at the metagame after, or in and after, of course, version 3.6, then you will realize that every single team that we have, even like right now, Dynamo is full. We have Afterglow, full. We have a brand new team, kind of full, right? There is not, if you look at this list here and at the metagame, the point that I'm trying to get across is that there is not much left that we could pull for. And we are now, after 3.6, keep that in mind, that is 2 versions after the half anniversary. We should now start to prepare and keep in mind that we need to save up Unilogs for the 3rd anniversary. I'm not kidding you, because what you want at anniversaries, at full anniversaries, is to P5 the main DPS character that is released there. In the 1st anniversary, we P5'd Nautica, Lucy. In the 2nd anniversary, we P5'd Nautica. And in the 3rd anniversary, you guessed it, we're gonna P5 Sophia. Whatever main DPS is released in the 3rd anniversary, we're gonna P5 that ass. No matter what. There is no way you weasel your way out of this if you want to be a good player. Portraits are for the most part not needed in this game. Most characters are fine at P0, some excel at P1, right? Like Flutterpage, like Aleph. You can make an argument for Recoleta P1 as well. Some characters, right, want P2 like Liang and Chen Yuang, but for the most part we are fine without portraits. That doesn't mean that portraits are 100% completely useless, right? It doesn't mean that portraits don't exist. If you go and pull for every single character and always only have them at P0, you have a loser mentality, because every single character and your entire account will always be at the weakest possible point that it could be. You will never establish yourself true power and play the game efficiently. That's why you need to get portraits, and guess what? Anniversaries are the point where you get portraits, and anniversary characters, especially main DPS characters, are the best characters in the game. Look where after 7 or 8 months at this point, after 3.6, where Nautica is. She's on top of the very meta. After the 1st anniversary, guess where Lucy was for the entire year? She was always in S tier. Some people might argue A tier. That's still on top of the fucking meta game. Look where Lucy is right now, over 1.5 years later. She's on top of the meta game. You know what I mean? If that is not proof enough for you to P5 main DPS characters that are released at full anniversaries, you will misunderstand the game, as most of the community does. You know what I mean? One flaw, one mistake will lead into another. People didn't P5 Nautica, and they are now trying to make an argument that Nautica is not the best character in the game. That is because they made a mistake of not P5ing her. They don't play the game at the most efficient way they could, and that's why they misjudge characters. Like, for example, Nautica. It's not even close. And I know you could now make the argument of, oh yeah, you can't compare a P5 character to someone who is just at P2. What are you talking about? Are you stupid? You know? No, you are stupid because you don't understand how the gacha genre works and how main DPS characters at anniversaries are treated. If you can have every single character in the game at P5, Nautica sticks out and is by far, not even close, the best character in the game. If you think, for example, that a Liang Yue would, from her individual prowess, stand a chance against the Nautica, you are completely delulu, bro. And that's a fact, you know what I mean? It's just that way. It's a fact that, look at the hardest content in the entire game, the Reveries. Whenever you can't beat the stage in there, you have a cheat code, because what you do is you slot in Blood Tide for a free win in any stage in the Reveries. That is the definition of the best team and the best character in the game. There's nothing else. Okay, keep that in mind. I just want to tell you about this so that you are aware that after Enigma, start saving up for the 3rd anniversary. That doesn't mean you cannot pull for anything else. For example, the Ultimate Archetype team here needs to sustain. The Poison team needs to sustain. The Rank Up team could use a different, new main DPS character, right? You could even make a slight argument here and say, hey, the Plant Prompto team is still missing a piece, because Mercuria is not a true impromptu character. Anna Lee is not crushing it individually, but you have a very, very good synergy here going on. Double synergy with impromptu concerning the characters Paper Heron and Tooth Fairy. Of course, Anna Lee helps very, very much out there as well. And you have a synergy, a rank up synergy here with Mercuria and Anna Lee. So you can see, right, in both scenarios, I mentioned Anna Lee. That's why she has a whole lot of value and is a very fantastic must-have character for this team. And Mercuria doesn't necessarily have to be replaced, but we could make an argument for that. And you can see that some of the characters that I mentioned here, we will receive via Euphoria updates, which means we get them for cheap. So yeah, again, let me put emphasis onto the fact that after version 3.6, already have the 3rd anniversary in mind and know that you should really P5 whatever main DPS Sophia is gonna release there, okay? And that's about it for me for today, guys. I hope this video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse 1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.